Hello everyone, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. It's Monday, December 26th. I'm Batsir Namshir. And for our top stories, new Ulaanbaatar Beltway project to be implemented within 1 year. Food security program implemented in Arkhangai province. Mongolia exported 2.1 million tons of coal in the first half of December. For other news, stay tuned. The Cabinet of Mongolia discussed new infrastructure projects to reduce traffic congestion. Minister of Road and Transport Development, Beltway, was tasked with overseeing the completion of the construction of the southern part of the new Beltway within 1 year.
The new Beltway will connect the road along the Tol River to the Khushuk Valley Airport Highway. Mayor of Ulaanbaatar was also tasked with overseeing the completion of the northern part of the Beltway within 1 year. The total length of the new Beltway will be 83 kilometers. The road around the southern part of the city will be 31 kilometers, while the northern part will be 52 kilometers. Sukhpatar, cabinet member and chairman of the National Committee to Reduce Traffic Congestion in Ulaanbaatar, and Mayor Sumaya Bazir are responsible for overseeing the public transport fleet's renovation before September 2023. During a cabinet meeting, Deputy Prime Minister of Mongolia Amr Sakhan presented the legal framework for establishing an international financial center in Khushuk Valley. Cabinet members decided to prepare a bill on establishing the International Financial Center for further discussion. The government believes that the new International Financial Center in the Khushuk Valley Free Economic Zone would attract investment for major projects in Mongolia. State officials have been regularly presenting Cabinet with updates on the implementation of a government resolution on measures to increase foreign exchange reserves. Since October 5, 2022, Эрдэнэ 5-7 JSC, Эрдэнэ Mining Corporation, Mongol Rostsvetmet, and Arkhangai Metallurgical Plant have transferred $567 million to the Bank of Mongolia as of December 20th. A total of 18,000 vehicles transported around 2.1 million tons of export coal through Gashun-Suhat, Shiveh-Hurum, Bolgan, Hang, Zamiut, and Bichuk ports. In the first half of this month, the number of vehicles processed increased by 15% and the volume of coal transported increased by 9.5% compared to the November daily average.
Herders in Arkhangai province are joining a campaign to eliminate the use of plastic containers when processing dairy products. A group of local women are actively taking part in a regional food security program.
Arkhangai province is the nation's leading province in livestock numbers and dairy production. The province's citizens' representative Horol has even proposed making the province a nomadic culture and civilization hub to develop regional tourism. The UNDP in Mongolia implemented the Herder Women and Food Security Program in the province, starting with herders eliminating the use of plastic containers for dairy product storage, replacing them with steel cans. Around 60 women attended a food security program workshop, and 45 households were given stainless steel containers and utensils for dairy processing. These herders are producing dairy products with traditional Mongolian processes. To maintain and improve the food security of the dairy products we all consume, we have successfully implemented a food security program. Improving food security is a win for consumers and dairy producers. We received 1.3 million Mongolian togriks in containers and utensils. The sets have 7 pieces, including containers for milk and water, jars for yogurt, and containers for fermenting mare's milk. The project distributed containers and utensils valued at 70 million Mongolian togriks. 60% of the program's costs were covered by the United Nations Development Program, and the governing authority of Arkhangai province covered the remaining 40%.
Now let's take a look at current affairs of Mongolia.
Ambassador of Japan to Mongolia Hiroyuki Kobayashi and the head of the National Emergency Management Agency, Brigadier General Aaron Boying, signed a project agreement on implementing a grassroots human security projects initiative. With support from the Japan Firefighters Association, equipment was supplied to firefighting units in Bayonhangor, Dongao, Zafgan, and Hoft provinces. There are 220 volunteer firefighting units in Mongolia, but most of them lack vehicles with special firefighting equipment. In the event of fire, local volunteers use whatever limited means are available. The government of Japan has implemented the Grant Assistance for Grassroots Human Security Projects program in Mongolia since 1990.
You're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. Now let's take a look at currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. Russian shells pummeled in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson on Saturday, killing at least 7 people and injuring 58 more. The barrage came as Ukrainians were beginning Christmas festivities that for many Orthodox Christians will culminate in the traditional celebration on January 7th.
Video released by Kherson's regional administration showed bodies yet to be recovered and emergency workers tending to the injured in the streets of the city Moscow's forces were forced to abandon last month. Saturday marks 10 months since the start of the Russian invasion, which began on February 24th. As the war in Ukraine marks its 10th anniversary on Christmas Eve, the Kyiv Opera Theatre held a Christmas concert Saturday on a stage underground. Artists sang Ukrainian versions of Jingle Bell Rock and It Is the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, among other internationally famous holiday songs. The concert was held underground for safety reasons and to avoid interruption by the air raid sirens that ring out almost daily in the capital. Many Ukrainians are shifting their traditions to break with the Russian Orthodox Church following the February 24th invasion. The Kyiv Opera Theatre used to hold Christmas concerts around January 7th, but this year they changed it to December 24th and 25th. The theatre has also scrapped Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky from its Christmas Day performance and replaced it with music by the Italian composer Giacomo Puccini. Many of the theater's staff come from areas heavily affected by the war. The war has spurred the creation of new Ukrainian music, literature, and plays as the country tries to cut ties with Russia.
Foreign aid groups on Sunday suspended their operations in Afghanistan following a decision by the country's Taliban rulers to ban women from working at international and local non-governmental organizations.
Save the Children, the Norwegian Refugee Council, and CARE said they cannot effectively reach children, women, and men in desperate need in Afghanistan without the women on their workforces. The NGO ban was introduced a day earlier, allegedly because women weren't wearing the Islamic headscarf correctly.
Yesterday, the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan announced a total ban of females working for international organizations. This is devastating news and an egregious act by the authorities, which means that organizations like Norwegian Refugee Council cannot, either on principle or practically, work in Afghanistan now. So we have suspended all of our activities whilst we seek an understanding of why this ban is necessary. We have complied with all cultural norms, and we simply can't work without our dedicated female staff who are essential for us to be able to access women who are in desperate need of assistance.
Norwegian Refugee Council chief for Afghanistan told the Associated Press on Sunday. He said the group has 468 female staff in the country.
We call on the Taliban authorities to reverse this decision as soon as possible, and we call on other organizations working in Afghanistan to come together to make sure that the assistance that we are giving is given on a principled way and with the assistance of our dedicated female humanitarian workers who are working tirelessly to make sure that assistance can be delivered. This comes at the worst possible time when the economy of Afghanistan is collapsing, and we need women as part of the workforce to enable the economy to recover.
Sanctions on Taliban rulers, a halt on bank transfers, and frozen billions in Afghanistan's currency reserves have already restricted access to global institutions and the outside money that supported the country's aid-dependent economy before the withdrawal of US and NATO forces. One Afghan woman, Amina, who works at a private school in Kabul, said she was worried about her future when she heard about the Taliban's decision. The Taliban are ordering women not to work, so now that I have family to look after, how can we survive? My husband is sick, he can't work. I need to pay the bills, house rent, buy medicine. If I don't work all the things that I need to pay for, where can I get the money from? What should we do? The NGO order came in a letter from Economy Minister Karidin Mohamed Hanif. It said any organization found not complying with the order will have their operating license revoked in Afghanistan. It is the latest blow to female rights and freedoms since the Taliban seized power last year and follows sweeping restrictions on education, employment, clothing, and travel. The flurry of edicts from the all-male and religiously driven Taliban government are reminiscent of their rule in the late 1990s, when they banned women from education and public spaces and outlawed music, television, and many sports.
Unrest continued in Paris on Saturday following a shooting at a Kurdish cultural center on Friday that left 3 people dead and 3 others wounded, authorities said.
Kurdish activists, left-wing politicians and anti-racism groups have taken to the streets in protest of the deaths. A 69-year-old suspect was wounded and arrested. The Paris prosecutor said the suspect had recently been released from prison after attacking migrants living in tents and that investigators are considering a possible racist motive for the shooting. Thousands gathered at the Place de la République in eastern Paris, waving a colorful spectrum of flags representing Kurdish rights groups, political parties, and other causes. Skirmishes erupted in the neighborhood a few hours after the shooting as members of the Kurdish community shouted slogans against the Turkish government and police fired tear gas to disperse the increasingly agitated crowd. Most demonstrators were ethnic Kurds of varying generations who come together to mourn the 3 people who were killed, share concerns that they don't feel safe, and ask how could this kind of attack happen in the center of Paris.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. In a rematch of an Eastern Conference semi-final series that went 7 games, the Boston Celtics showed why they are the class of the NBA. Boston defeated Milwaukee 139-118, dominating the matchup between the top 2 teams in the NBA entering Christmas Day.
He too is averaging a career high.
Jason Tatum scored 20 of his 41 points in the 3rd quarter, and Jaylen Brown knocked down his shot and knocked down Giannis Antetokounmpo in the 4th on Sunday to help the Boston Celtics beat the Milwaukee Bucks 139-118 in a matchup of the top 2 teams in the NBA. Brown scored 13 of his 29 in the 4th, and Antetokounmpo lost his temper after a hard pick sent him into the floor and retaliated by shoving the Celtics all-star. Antetokounmpo, who fell hard on his hand on Friday night but was cleared to start, was given a technical foul and went to the bench. The teams played the last 3 minutes and 41 seconds without further incident. Antetokounmpo added 27 points and had 9 rebounds for Milwaukee, and Drew Holiday scored 23. The teams have the top 2 records in the NBA, but both have struggled lately. Boston had lost 5 of their last 7, and Milwaukee has now lost 3 in a row for the first time this season. Still, Boston has the best record in the league, followed by Milwaukee.
Japan head coach Hajime Moriyasu, who led the Samurai Blue into the round of 16 at the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, is set to retain his post, according to sources familiar with the matter.
Hajime Moriyasu is set to be retained as Japan head coach, according to a report by the Kyodo News Agency. Citing sources close to the situation, Kyodo reported that the move will be made official at a board meeting of the Japan Football Association and will be the first time that a Japan head coach has stayed on after a World Cup. Kyodo reported the details of a new contract were still to be worked out. The 54-year-old Moriyasu led Japan to the round of 16 at the World Cup in Doha after knocking off both Germany and Spain to the top Group E. But the Samurai Blue were denied the first ever World Cup quarterfinal after a penalty shootout loss to Croatia. Moriyasu is a former Japan midfielder who coached Sanfrecce Hiroshima to 3 domestic J-League titles before taking charge of the Japan Under-23 side. He has led Japan's senior national team since 2018.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Tuesday with more news and updates. Goodbye.